Parshas Noach, the seventh Aliyah, describes Noach's descendants and how they represent the 70 primary nations of the world. And then, of course, we have the famous Tower of Babel, the Migdal Babel, the Dar HaFlaga, as it's called, following the generation of the Mabel, the Dar HaMabel. The Torah speaks about the Dar HaFlaga. This generation was it's very hard to understand this parsha, but apparently there was a generation that developed technology. They developed bricks, which was a very cutting-edge technology at the time, because until then they built all their structures out of mud. They lived in caves perhaps, but now they were able to develop bricks and they were able to build actual structures. They're very proud of this, and they use this, unfortunately, to wage war, as it were, against God. And they decided to build this massive tower and to battle God. And as a result of this, Hashem decided that he was going to change their languages. He was not going to allow them to stay unified with one tongue, with one language, and with one culture, but he was going to disperse them and create different languages, and that way they would never come together as one and do battle against him again. And then the Parsha ends with the 10 generations from Noach to Avram, and Terach was the father of Avram, Nachar, and Haran. Haran has light. Avram's wife is Sarai. She has no children. Terach takes Avram, Lot, and Sarai from Ur-Kasdim, and he goes to the land of Canaan, and they arrive at Haran, where they settle, and with that, the parsha ends. It's fascinating to note, and Rashi speaks about this, how look at the dar of the Mabel versus the dar HaFlaga, the generation of dispersion. The dar of the Mabel, of the flood, they did terrible sins, and Hashem destroyed them with water. As opposed to the Dar HaFlaga, who seemingly did something much worse. They actually wanted to build a tower to fight God, but yet he gives them almost a pass. He gives them the allowance to stay alive. He doesn't flood them. He keeps them alive. He just spreads them out and makes them into 70 nations, and he puts them all over the world. But that doesn't seem to be a punishment that's as severe as the punishment that was meted out to the generation of the flood. And Rashi says that that's true, that really they should have also been destroyed, but the saving grace, the reason why they were not destroyed, is because they had something that the generation of the flood did not have, and that was unity. That because they were unified together and they were as one, they were one people that got along with one another, Hashem says, I love that about them and I don't want to destroy them. The generation of the Teva, of the Mabel, was a generation that they were sinful to God, but they were more sinful to one another. They were practicing immorality. They were doing things with other people that were inappropriate, that was debauchery against, and because of that, there was pirud, there was division amongst them. Hashem has no tolerance for division. When Hashem sees unity, he almost looks the other way. He gives us a free pass when there's unity. And that's a very important lesson for us to always remember, that the Jewish people are very strong. We're a wonderful people, but we are really amazing when we're unified. When we have unity and we love one another, we care for one another, we do chesed with one another, then we're almost like protected from all of the elements. But when we start becoming too comfortable in our galus and we begin to create divisions, we label one another and we make charedim and we make chilonim and we make different types of factions and different types of ways of describing one another, and these are Jews that I would never have anything to do with, and I'm not going to be meshadach with these types of people, and these are people that I don't like, I don't trust. When we create division amongst ourselves, that is something that will create Rahman al-Islam destruction. I don't want to specify how, but we see it in our own times, that when we're able to stay unified, the enemies of Klal Yisrael are really kept and held at bay. But as soon as we begin to have any sort of division, any friction amongst us, suddenly, we are feeling the wrath, and in many different ways, either militarily or diplomatically. And there's a direct correlation between the achdus that Klal Yisrael must maintain and how much HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides protection. And the second that we start beginning to feel this division amongst us, that's when immediately, Rahman al-Islam, we see that we are completely swallowed up in the mabul that surrounds us, and we have to be constantly careful and on guard to always maintain and preserve the unity amongst all of our different types of people.